Hello everyone and welcome back to our city build in Jurassic World Evolution 2 called Dominion City. There's only a couple of episodes left until disaster will strike, and in this episode I'm finishing Suburbia, and I'll also be making a park where, people can walk their dogs, get some fresh air before they get murdered by, dinosaurs. But also what we'll be making is like an American football field, which was a suggestion from Elle Templeton. She actually suggested a rugby field, but that didn't feel American enough, I guess. This is a mountain town in California, so it needed some good old American football, says the European girl with zero interest in sport. I know that's like offensive to Americans and Europeans alike. As you can tell, I did speed up the footage. It was just one of those evenings where I wanted to build. I feel like as park builders, as Jurassic World Evolution 2 players, you guys are gonna understand what I mean. It was one of those moments where I wanted to build and completely get immersed into the process and focus on all of the little details without having to think about sounds and words being produced by my mouth and my brain, which really it's just a recipe for disaster if I try to do multiple things at once. So I just wanted to really focus on building. So that's what I did. I just sat down one evening and I finished the entire Dominion City, and I'll be showing you they're not like full-on speed builds as I would usually do. This is only at 200% speed. Normally I would be like at 400 or even 500% speed. But I just wanted to build, and I wanted to focus so the city could be the best it could possibly be. And yes, that does mean some narration after the fact. I'm sorry. I know that's not ideal, but I feel like it was the best way to go for this particular build. That does mean no more species suggestions from you guys, no more dinosaur species suggestions. I just went back to older videos and got more suggestions from those, so, I could add more dinosaurs to the city. But what I did want to do, and this was actually an idea from Omar, my Discord administrator, his idea was to name some dinosaurs after people who have commented on previous videos. So instead of giving a dinosaur suggestions, just leave whatever kind of comment you want, and I will be going through the videos and picking names at random and giving those names to the dinosaurs in the city. So in the finale, when all hell breaks loose, you might see a dinosaur that's named after you rampaging through the suburbs, for example, and killing all the housewives and I don't know, uprooting lawn. What really pisses off people in suburbia? I feel like the lawn is a pretty sensitive topic. So that's sort of the new approach here. So really just leave a comment and I'll be going through and picking out names again at random and assigning them to dinosaurs, and I think that's going to make it's going to make for a more interesting finale episode when it's not just going to be Velociraptor 009 killing someone, but it's gonna be one of you guys. And yes, that does mean I am hereby saying that you will commit murder at some point, but, consider this also your get out of jail for free card. At the end of the video, I will show you some of the dinosaurs that have been granted names, so you can see if your comment from last episode got picked up and was turned, or immortalized, you might even say, into a rampaging dinosaur. For now, though, I should probably focus on what I'm actually doing and actually talk you through what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is building, the suburbs. So the idea here is that this part of the suburbs, it's not particularly wealthy, it's just more middle class, I suppose. There's another part of the city where we have like super big mansions with big yards and gates and stuff like that. And this is a little more like an average neighborhood, I would say. So what I'm using here is, it's mostly restrooms as the houses, just because they were the best suited size, I felt. And they have like little fenced in backyards that we're gonna add tables and chairs to, and some trees later on, so that it feels a little bit more like a backyard. A lot of this is just inspired by my own neighborhoods and neighborhoods in my own city that I cycle through on my way to work, or well, I really only leave my house to go to work, so on my way to work. That's really the inspiration for these suburbs, and I guess if you were to build this yourself, you can just take inspiration from your own surroundings, from your own neighborhoods. You might even want to try to create certain parts of your neighborhood, although, of course, that will be difficult with the limited tools that we have available. But in spite of those limited tools, you like I've already revealed that the city I should say, is finished at this point, right? So I don't want to sound too full of myself because I'm definitely not. My therapist and I, we're on it, but I'm really happy with how this city turned out. I think it's really awesome. It was really fun to build because it was so different to build. Yes, I am definitely breaking the game, especially with the path tool open. The path tool at this point is a frame rate murderer, like a spree killer of some sort. But in the end, I'm really happy with the end result. I was happy with the process, so 10 out of 10 would recommend that you do this as well. And of course, what I'm really looking forward to is just that finale and seeing the dinosaurs run through the city and attacking people. Oh, I should say, I did close the park for the time being because I felt like maybe generating the guest AI was also a little bit of a strain on the system, on the game itself. So there are no people right now. I do hope that I can get them back in safely. Well, not safely, that's not the point. That's actually like the opposite of the point. I should say that I hope I can bring the guests back in successfully after all of the things that have been changed, but we'll see. I think it's gonna be a good finale. And at the very least, I'll finally be able to show you the completed, finished city. And like I said, I'm pretty chuffed with myself. I'm pretty proud of it. I've become obnoxious. I will stop now. Really, Suburbia, as you can see, it's just a lot of toilets. So guests, well, at least they won't complain about there not being enough toilets in this park, that's for sure. I'll just say, go home. Your entire house is a toilet. Definitely one of the most challenging parts about this part of the build of Suburbia was to make all of the lots look a little bit different from one another. I mean, right away you're dealing with the challenge that all of the houses look exactly the same. They're all restrooms, right? I mean, we only have 2 variations of restroom in that regard. So you have to battle against that and make them all look a little bit different. And the only way to really do that is with some of the decorations and how the driveway is laid out, for example. And that was really difficult to keep mixing that up between the different houses. But I think I managed okay. And of course, the new decorations that were added to the game were a huge help in that regard. I couldn't have done this build justice really without those decorations. So it's kind of bonkers to think that I started this series before we had all of this stuff. And I don't even think we knew at that point what was coming. It was that long ago. 65 million years ago. That's how long I've been working on this city. But yeah, that definitely helped. But at the end of the day, you know, even the decorations that we have is kind of limited. So it was really a constant search of trying to make everything look a little bit different. And the foliage, I think, did the biggest part in that, in which types of trees and bushes I use, but also where I place them. You know, some gardens are a little bit more natural, a little bit more flowy. Others just have like strict straight lines of trees, that sort of stuff. And in the end, it's not even that many houses, honestly. The section is not that big. And I was definitely grateful for that. If I had to do 10 more houses like this, I think it would have drained me creatively. It was a welcome change to work on the park after, like, the literal park part of the city of the park. The park part of the park. Wow. But it was a breath of fresh air to work on an actual park, a little bit of, you know, nature and not patios and stuff like that. Because that was just a lot easier after doing all of this and trying to figure out, okay, how am I gonna get like the most out of these few decorations that we have? It was just really nice to be able to plop down a big lake surrounded with some gravelly path and be like, yeah, you know what? That's fine. Now, speaking of the park, here we go. This is the start of that build. The parking lot over there is the parking lot for the supermarket and the shopping district that is behind that, behind Suburbia. And the park is sort of connected to that, as well as it has a separate entry into the graveyard of the city. So, you know, people, when they go to visit their loved ones after that, they can have a nice, relaxing, calming walk through the park. That sort of thing. So I did like a little fence moment over here. This is the official entry of the park, but of course, as I said, it can also be accessed through the graveyard, and it has a separate access at the football field as well, which is on the far end, which is actually also connected to the highway. So it can be accessed through several different parts of the city, which I feel is only realistic. So we have like this weird, long, curving shape that we have to deal with. And really, a park was the best way to use that space anyway, because if we were to try to fit in buildings over here, the shape of that would just make it really unnatural looking, I think. So in terms of planning, well done, Evo. Good call. So the park has like this big duck pond, I suppose you could call it. This is where the old people go to feed the duckies, and I'm building like a little, it's supposed to be a little deck, you know, a nice place to hang out in the summer when it's nice and warm, and you know, the duckies are all paddling around, and there's like a restaurant and a drink shop there as well. So people can have like a nice day out. You know, it's a recreational park. Yeah, that's the lore of the city. Here they can relax before they run for their lives, you know, because dinosaurs are gonna happen. Now, for the rest of the path throughout the park, I didn't want to use actual path because I've used that so much, you know. Path has really already served so many purposes in this park. It's like a sidewalk and promenade. So I wanted to use a really natural path, quote unquote. So I just draw a line of dirt essentially. But I feel like that was just the best look to go for. And I think it worked out quite nicely. I think it's okay, even though of course the buildings over there aren't connected. But really, there are already so many buildings not connected errors throughout this entire city that there was really no point in using that as a reason to try and connect those two buildings by the lake. There was really no point to that. So what I'm working on right now is my quote-unquote American football field. I thought L. Templeton's idea was really cool to use the pylons as the rugby goals. You know, in terms of proportion and stuff like that, no, it doesn't really work that way, but we have to get creative with what we have in this game. I've used the pylons as at intersections, you know, that's what I imagine the stoplights hanging off of. So we're already stretching our imagination here, and I feel like rugby goals, or in this case American football goals, really wasn't that much further than I'd already taken it. I thought it was a good idea, so that's what I went with. Now, I don't know anything about American football. I know quarterbacks are a thing, but I know that from watching like stupid high school movies more than anything. And one of the difficult things about American football is that the field is actually quite detailed, and we can't do that. So really all I ended up doing was indicating the end zones with snow, and we're just gonna pretend that that's white paint. I mean, you're free to comment about how American football works and how purposeful the design of the field is, and how not in any way, shape, or form some white snow is doing that justice. You're totally free to comment that, but I had no other choice. Okay, these were my options, and the options were limited. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So yeah, I did the best that I felt I could. I didn't want to do like a football field path art kind of approach, because even then I think it would have been very fiddly. Maybe I could have recreated like the lines of the different zones, but then it would have been all path, And I really didn't feel like that was a good fit. It would look way too concrete, so I did wanna keep the grassy look of it and make it a field. So that's the choice and the thought that went into that. But of course, if you are doing something like that, you are totally free to approach it differently. This was my personal choice, okay? This is how I did it. Now, the football field also has a parking lot which has a direct access to the highway. Football is important, okay? People need to get there fast. It's not really like a professional football field, this is not where big national or big state teams would play. It's a local football field where maybe like the local high school or a local team would play. Thinking that, and again, harkening back to my only experience with American football, which is through high school movies, as previously addressed and admitted in shame. I realized that probably there should be a school nearby. I didn't go that route. Maybe I still can. Maybe I still can. I'm gonna put a pin in that. I might actually still be able to do that. I'm gonna stay tuned. Stay tuned. This might make a return in a future video. But anyway, for now, this is just like a local football field where local kids and local teams, like dads reliving their youth, are playing. So it doesn't have like a stadium or anything like that, but it does have a parking lot for people to access it and to come watch their kids play. And it also has like I don't know what to call it, like a cafeteria or a rec center or whatever you would call it nearby. For example, soccer teams, like local soccer teams in my country and in my area, they all have like this clubhouse near the football field where, they do the most important thing about being part of a soccer team, basically, which is to eat fried food and drink beer afterwards. I think for a lot of people, especially those dads trying to relive their youth. I'm like shaming people right now. I'm shaming people for being active. That's not fair. Well done on playing sports. Very good. But personally, I feel like a lot of people, at least a lot of the people I know, they join a soccer club, yes, because they like playing soccer, but also particularly what they like is having a beer with friends on a Saturday afternoon after the game. So that's what that building over there is. That's just like the hangout after the game. I'm just fencing in the football field, leaving a little bit of the gate open, so that way people can walk into the park. And yeah, that's basically all there is to that part of the build. Now, this little patio over here, I don't really know, or little deck maybe. This is inspired by another thing that I regularly see in American TV series and movies, and particularly I'm watching Criminal Minds right now, and I was actually watching a Criminal Minds episode related to chess while I was building this, and one of the scenes in the episode was that there was just like a park in a city, and there was a dedicated area in that park with chess tables. Like they had a chess pattern on the table itself, so people could come there and play chess out in the open. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cute. So literally, that's what that is. Just imagine that all of those tables over there are tables where, yes, people can just normally hang out and, do things people do in parks, like have picnics and sell drugs. But they can also play chess. That's the inspiration behind that. And by the way, in case you didn't know, one of my favorite ways of building a park is actually just putting on a series or a movie on my second screen. I do have that luxury of having two screens. And, watching a movie or an episode of something while building. That is one of, I think, the best ways of building, because for me at least, it gives me a little bit of distraction from the boring part, like placing all of the lights and doing path artwork and stuff like that. I think that's a really enjoyable way to build. And if you're struggling with really taking the time to add a lot of detail to your parks, I would definitely recommend that. Or put on music, I guess that would also work. But, a movie of some description, maybe, Jurassic Park or something. I think that would be a really good way for you to allow yourself the time to work on the details that make a park really great. Now, the other preferred way for me to build a park is during live streams. I'm live every Saturday, so I really hope that you'll subscribe and you'll join for those live streams. Now, once a month, I do a live stream where I don't play Jurassic World Evolution 2. I actually play The Isle, which is another dinosaur game, and that's what the plan for tonight is. So I really hope that you'll join the live stream and just come hang out in chat and watch the madness unfold. Here I'm just adding some planters around, I guess, what is now my chess terrace or something, my public chess arena, you might even say. Again, just adding a lot of details to this park. I am very happy to report that, yes, the park is finished, and I did not run into that issue of reaching the maximum amount of placeable items. So that was very fortunate. That was very lucky. I really felt like we were heading in that direction where the game would just break on me. We came pretty close, I feel like, because performance is... Well, the word performance really just doesn't cover it anymore. Calling it performance is false advertisement because the opposite of performance is happening. Wow, that was an interesting rant. But yes, I did manage to make this huge and very detailed park without running into that issue. So I think that the limit is reasonably fair. I think where most people are probably running into issues is when you go into decorating your dinosaur exhibits with a lot of the individually placeable trees, especially if you're using the Chaodenic mod, which has a ton of individually placeable trees and bushes and stuff like that. I think that's where you really up the odds of running into that issue if you go into it like that. So I would suggest that for your exhibits, you know, use a couple of the individually placeable trees and be more precise in their placement, but don't neglect to use the tree brush as well to fill in the majority of it, because otherwise I would suspect that you are going to run into that issue where, you know, you've just stretched the game to the max and your park save file is gonna fail, and it's gonna be very heartbreaking to watch all of your hard work go to shambles. So that's just a little tip from me, because after this experience, I definitely feel like you can take it to quite an extreme with the decorations and stuff. I was happily surprised. That's not to say that the frame rate didn't suffer, okay? We've discussed this, but the park didn't fail, and that's the most important thing at this point. Here we have the carnivore edition for this episode, and it is the Ceratosaurus with my favorite skin for the Ceratosaurus. This is base color Amazon with the pattern Rana. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, spared no expense. And this is the herbivore edition, the Euoplocephalus. I really wanted an Ankylosaurus, and Euoplocephalus was suggested. And as you can see here, I am naming some dinosaurs after commenters. So this is Collectosaurus Rex and beyond. They will live on to infinity as the Euoplocephalus, you know, until they get killed. This one is named Linic 4. I'm not going into the comment section and picking every single name to give to a dinosaur, because that would be a lot, but if you want to have the chance of becoming a dinosaur in this park and wreaking havoc on the city, then just leave a comment and maybe your name get picked, and who knows, you'll become either herbivore or carnivore, small, big, whatever. It's just going to be a random process, but I think it's going to be fun to watch the finale and maybe see if your name comes up. And here we have another edition, and he's being called Isla Sorna Communications. In case you didn't notice, we are very close to 100,000 subscribers for the channel, so it would mean a lot to me if you would join and help make that milestone happen. I have several fun projects and events planned for when we do reach that milestone, so I really hope that you'll stay tuned and become a part of those. I want to thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.